my one, left turn on it would be, how much responsibility then are people going to just have totally less responsibility and just be taking pills? I don't know. Maybe that's crazy thought, but if it's not in other countries, then maybe that's a good example. It didn't happen here.
It is an issue in other countries. For example, all right, you're a lonely, older person. Maybe you're living by yourself. I'm feeling lonely. Maybe I'll go to the doctor, right? When I'm not really.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Will people say, so what? I mean, it happens, and you try to discourage that. So no system is perfect.
Right.
But the bottom line, as Americans, we have to answer a very simple question. Is healthcare a right of all people, whether you're rich, poor, medium, whatever you are? I think the answer is yes.
Well, I think especially when you start to look at other places that we spend our money, it would be very hard not to say, only spend it there first. Good. It's just fucking unbelievable that we're this powerful of a country and we don't have it's like we lost our emotional.
That's a good point. And I'll tell you something else. Let me get off of healthcare first.
Okay. Well, before we get off, I know that, you guys have a bill, a group that I've worked with, done volunteer stuff with called To the Patients, right?
Good.
And it's notating the prices of, like, say you get an MRI. The hospital now has to let you know that the MRI is $700. So you can call the hospital down the street and see that it's $550. So you can make a choice. So up front a $10,000 bill later on.
You got it. It's called the transparency bill.
Transparency bill. And is it passed yet or no?
That's not. I'm working with it, with a guy named Braun from Indiana, who's a Republican. Good guy. And look, it's exactly the issue. People walk into an emergency room. They walk into a hospital. You have any idea? Here, Theo, this is what we're going to do for you, blah, 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 blah. And you come out and you drop dead because you see a bill of, thousands of dollars, right?
That's the crazy part. Yeah.
I mean, people go in surgery. They come out hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
It's
It is insane. All right. And the point is, look, I should have the right to know. You want to hear? You think it's crazy? Let me tell you how crazy. It's even crazier than you think it is. Okay. You have Blue Cross insurance. I have another insurance company. Same hospital. You go and get an MRI. Your insurance company will pay $500. My insurance company pays $700. So even in the same hospital for the same treatment, the price is different. Not to mention different hospitals.
Well, it's just wild that they can do that. It's almost like I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to get an apple, right? I'm going to eat it. And then after I eat it, you're going to tell me how much it costs.
You got it. That is,
and they're like 400. Is it from the Garden of Eden? But
it's even worse. You're exactly right. But it's even worse because you had to go to the hospital.
Right. It wasn't a choice that you made. I know you guys had launched an investigation, even because this is kind of current, about Ozempic, right? And the cost of Ozempic in different countries. Cause I was dating a girl, or not dating, but we met up a couple times at night or whatever. And she was leaving one morning to drive to Mexico to get Ozempic. And I'm like, you're just driving in the middle of what's going on? And she's like, well, it's just way cheaper there. And I'm like, but is it as regulated? I don't know. But I know that in some countries, the prices on it are so different. Like in Canada, it's $150 something. Got it. And in America, it's 700 and something.
1,000.
It's close to 1,000 for a diabetes medication. I know some people use it for, kind of
weight loss.
Yeah, to look the way they want, spring break or whatever. But that's crazy. Why isn't it just the same? Is it because they know they can charge us more because we have more money?
That's half of it, but only half of it. That's a great question. Thanks for asking it. All right. It's what my committee deals with every day. We've had, by the way, some success in the last few years, and the Biden people have done a good job on this. All right. Why is it that, I want to make sure I'm right here. Well, certainly in Canada, it's about $150 for, Ozempic. Mm-hmm. Here it's 900, close to 1,000. And why is that? What the Canadians do and what countries around the world do, what makes common sense. They purchase a lot of the drug, right? All right. So they sit down with the drug companies. They say, look, we have hundreds of thousands of people going to use your drug. We're going to sit down and we're going to negotiate a price, right?
Right. Of course, certainly after a few months, you should be able to see the averages and make a good business choice. Yeah.
I mean, if you're a businessman and you're buying something from me, you're buying, thousands of items, I'm going to have to give you a discount if I want your business.
Certainly.
All right. That's the way the business works. So that's what every country on earth does. They sit down with the drug companies. Some do it more stringently than others. Up until very, very recently, there have been no requirements, zero, for the drug companies to negotiate anything. So they come in and they say, they have the board. What do you think we can get, Harry? Sitting around their board of directors. Well, gee, I think you can get $10,000 a year. No, I think you can go high. I think you can get $20,000. Look, we get what the market will bear. The government has no power. Wow. Charge them anything you want. That's what they do. So you got now, it's not just Ozempic, in which we pay in some cases 15 times more than European countries. It's all kinds of drugs. So the answer to your question is, up until recently, and the Biden administration has done a good job of this, there have been no capabilities of the government, Medicare, anybody else to negotiate prices. They charge anything they want and as much as they possibly can. What we did is part of a bill called the Inflation Reduction Act, stupid title to the bill, but that's what it was. Finally have that the drug companies are going to have to sit down with Medicare and negotiate prices. They're going to be announcing some interesting results pretty soon. So for the first time, there is the beginning of negotiating prices, and it will lower prices. Second of all, what we've done on my committee, a lot of people have asthma, and they use inhalers. I don't know if you know anybody using an asthma inhaler.
Yeah.
10 times more expensive in the United States. So we kind of shamed some of the big companies. They lowered it down to, some of them, to $35. So making some progress on lowering the cost of prescription drugs. But to answer your question, up until a couple of years ago, drug companies could charge any price they wanted for any reason.
And now, and that could be changing with the Inflation Act?
Yeah, Inflation Reduction Act. What it basically says is the 10 top selling drugs, they're going to have to come then and sit down and negotiate with Medicare price. That is, by the way, what the Veterans Administration does. The VA in America does a good job.
Yeah. They
They don't pay outrageous prices. They negotiate, and that's what Medicare is beginning to do.
If you can't breathe, I mean, yeah, you're almost a fish if you breathe, you know? Let's talk about some politics. Oh, wait. And the price transparency, that's happening now. Like people have to show their prices or they don't.
They don't. We still haven't passed it.
Okay. Do you think it's going to happen?
It's a popular bill. I think we have a good shot to get it done.
That's cool. Yeah, man. It makes me just sick because somebody's already sick. And you know they're sick. Like if it were your family member, what you want them to just sit there and just be angry. They're on the phone every day. Then they don't have any energy for their own family. It just
you're absolutely right.
I just can't imagine choosing, especially when you're already making a ton of money, choosing to make a little more money. What do you need?
But now you're raising even an issue.
What do you need?
But corporate greed here, but that's for sure.
Yeah, I know you hate it. And we all hate it. I think it's at the point where the screw has been turned so fucking tight that I think, yeah, it starts to create radicalization, starts to create a lot of stuff. Let's talk about, the election coming up right now, or just the current candidacy. I wanted, in 2020, I believe that's when you ran. I wanted you and Donald Trump to be on the same ticket, right? That was a thought that I had because in my mind, I'm just a regular guy. I don't know a ton about politics, right? I felt both were outliers, right? That's how it seemed to me. These guys are both outliers. They're both, different, but seem to be doing their own thing. You've been outspoken against Trump, right? Do you think he's not, is he doing his own thing or
he is like, look, I will give Trump credit. Okay. He does his own thing. Okay. He's a very different type of politician, and that's clear. But this is what I do think, Theo. While I respect somebody who has the guts to do their own, he is very much a non-traditional politician, which is what he is. Here's the facts. He lies all the time. Right? And, I got 4 kids and I got 7 grandchildren, and we really have to ask ourselves whether the guy who is the leader of the country, whether that's the kind of example that we want. So I have a lot of friends in politics who differ with me, more conservative people. They're not liars. We disagree. So you and I disagree on something.
It's fine.
So what? It's called American democracy.
Yeah, it used to be fine.
That's right. All right. But Trump really is, pathological. He lies. When you see him, I tell them not everything, but a lot of lies. Okay. And I think we can't have that. When he was in the private, before he became involved in politics, he was sued, his companies were sued 4,000 times. And just above and beyond his political views, which I disagree with. But then those you can discuss. I don't think you want somebody leading this country who is shady.
So you're saying he doesn't set the best example of
Look, you got kids. Do you have any kids?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you do. And you want kids to be honest.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be bees and picking on the weak. So that from a character point of view, I don't like it. But also, let me give you another example. I happen to believe, I don't know what your views are, that women have a right to control their own bodies. All right. I don't want, Bernie, you can't have a vasectomy. You can't do this. My business, not the government's. And Trump does not hold that view. I happen to believe strongly that climate change is real. We got just a week ago.
I saw your podcast with, Bill Billinkoff.
Bill McKibben, of course. I've known Bill. Bill is,
I want to get to speak to him. He seems really interesting.
Smart guy.
Is he?
I've known him for years.
Because I want to learn more about, you just always hear about climate change. And so, I want to learn more about it.
Good. And I hope you do. And I'm sure Bill would be happy to go on the show if you wanted. I can give him a call.
Awesome.
In all of the scientists agree, when you put carbon into the atmosphere, it creates a ceiling there. The earth warms up, and then because of the earth warming up, you have extreme weather disturbances like you come from Louisiana, do you?
Yeah, we're sinking.
You've seen terrible floods there. We've had them here in Vermont.
I'm in Savannah right now going on.
Right, that's right. Floods the likes of which we've never seen. You're seeing drought. In Saudi Arabia, temperature reaches 125 degrees, which people are dying by the hundreds. So Trump does not believe that climate change is real. And if he becomes president, that means not only will the United States, the whole world will give up. And I don't know what this planet is going to look like in, 10, 15.
And do you say that because America is really the leader of the forefront of looking out for climate change?
Yep. Okay. We're the largest economy in the world.
Right.
Now, China is a bigger polluter than we are right now.
Oh, yeah, dude. They all smoke, too. A lot of Chinese people. Yeah, that kid that's on that bicycle or whatever he smoked.
But if we say, hey, the hell with it, then other countries are going to, because it's a global.
Right. Then everybody's going to be like, oh,
everybody backs off. And then I don't know what this planet, you talk about floods, it's going to get worse and worse. Heat waves worse, drought worse, migrations. There are millions, hundreds of millions of people, little farmers in poor countries. They can't farm anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So I agree with Trump on that. So those are some of the reasons why, I'm strong.
Those are important issues, I certainly, And I don't think it's like everybody can have their own thoughts on different issues. And, do you see why people like him?
I do. Because he's very disarming. He gets up there and he says whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
He is not.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's by the book.
He is not by the book.
Right. That's something the same as you. It's like he's speaking it feels like they're speaking for themselves, right? Whether you agree with maybe what they believe what they're saying. And that I think comes through to people.
I think, he's certainly unusual. Gets up there and he rants and he does his thing and he's not necessarily, I'm sure his advisors go crazy, but he's not needed, reading off. He doesn't have.
Kid Rock is one of his advisors. I love Kid Rock. I don't know if every advice of his is the best, but now some of it is, that's for sure. But some of it may not.
And a lot of these politicians have 18 different consultants. You can't use that word. You can't say that.
That makes it miserable. He's not like that, right?
And people find that appealing. I get it. But, again, I don't think you could have a pathological liar or somebody who doesn't believe in women have the right to control their bodies, who doesn't believe in climate change. I think that's bad. And by the way, I'm not quite so sure how much he believes in democracy as well.
Yeah. Well, and look, those are, that's how you feel, and it's important. And you've always had your own feelings, and I appreciate you always having them and sharing what they are. Do you feel, and it changes a lot, but, were you at Mount Sinai? Which one did you go?
Mount Sinai.
Yeah, that's where we went.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I was really proud to go there and be alongside Mayor Mamdani. The former chairman of the Health Education Labor Committee. And I'll tell you, Theo, I have met with nurses all over this country. I love nurses. It's no great secret that our healthcare system is broken. Everybody knows that. And the people who are keeping it going are, in fact, the nurses. They're with you when babies are born. They're with you when you die. They're with you in between. They're at your bedside. They're the backbone of the healthcare system, and I love them. And I'll tell you something, time and time again, nurses would come into my office, and they'd start talking, and suddenly they'd start crying. And you know what they were crying about? They were crying about the fact that they were unable to do the jobs to do the work that they were trained and wanted to do, that they didn't have the number of nurses they needed, the staffing ratios that they needed. They broke down. And I was just a couple of years ago, not dissimilar for what's going on in New York City right now in New Brunswick, New Jersey. These nurses went on strike. You know why they went on strike? Because they needed help.
Yeah.
To provide better patient care. It wasn't even about money.
Right. They're just saying, hey, I can't even be a nurse. This is my calling in the world, and I can't even do it to a decent potential.
Exactly.
Know? And it's tough enough. We talked last time about patients being stressed to the gills, not only dealing with their physical ailments, but having to deal with the stress of begging for insurance companies to support, just all of that. And now you're going to put the nurses under the same stress.
Exactly. It's pathetic.
And
I'm sure you know this, the CEOs there of these big, huge hospitals. One guy is making $26 million a year. Another guy, I think, is making $16 million. Another guy making $5 million. They're bringing in all these traveling nurses, spending hundreds of millions of dollars rather than sitting down and negotiating a decent contract with these dedicated nurses. So there they are. You got them on.
Yep. And I'm grateful. I want to just mention these wonderful CEOs by name today, just so, because look, it's time where we put a name with people who are making certain choices. And so we have Brendan Carr. I know he's over at Mount Sinai. Brian Donnelly. There he is. Look at that big smile. I'd be smiling too if I just made $15 million there. That's Philip O. Ozua, who looks like a Guess Who character, and Stephen Corwin. I don't know. That's alleged. These are the CEOs current, and I think one is just leaving the one of his posts. These are who nurses are asking for help from.
Right.
Is that right? Just to be clear, Bernie, what are the nurses asking for?
What they're asking for, what they call safe nurse-patient ratios. That means if you're a nurse on duty and you have too many patients to take care of, you can't do your job.
Yeah.
A patient calls out, needs your help, you can't get there. So they want more staffing to be able to provide the quality care that patients deserve.
Mm-hmm. And I know in addition to that, I think they wanted healthcare benefits not to be cut. If you think that nurses
pretty crazy, huh?
Can't get healthcare, they can't be sure that they're going to have healthcare. They're working with the sick. We can't say, hey, we're going to do our best to make sure you don't get sick.
That's pretty crazy. And the other thing they're worried about, and I hope we can discuss this a little bit, is AI and robotics. They raised that issue as well.
Have they really?
Yeah. And there was a Dr. Oz, who's head of CMS in Washington right now, was talking the other day. Let me get it straight. I think it was Alabama, rural Alabama, where they're weak on the number of obstetricians that they have. And he was proudly talking about how they have robots now who are providing examinations for pregnant women.
And who's controlling those robots? It's not some pervert at his house, huh?
Well, but the point is, if you're a patient, do you really want a robot examining you?
Right.
So, I mean, I think all of this, Theo, adds up to the fact, and I'll tell you, I've been all over the country, and wherever I go, I talk about this. You're conservative, you're moderate, you're progressive. You understand the healthcare system is broken today.
Yeah.
We are spending, this is insane. Do you know how much we spend per capita? Add everything else, right? Medicaid, Medicare, what you pay out of your own pocket. How much do we spend per person on healthcare in the United States of America? Do you know? Take a wild and crazy guess.
Per year?
No, per person.
Oh.
Per person.
Okay.
$15,000 per person.
Okay.
So a family of four spends theoretically $60,000.
Oh, wow.
That is double what any other country on earth is spending. You got it?
Yeah.
You would think that if we are spending, if I buy a $100,000 car, you buy a $50,000 car, my car should be a little bit better than your car, right? And yet, despite all of those expenditures, our system is worse than others. We're the only major country not to guarantee health care to all people.
But it's these kind of like darker agreements between hospitals and insurance companies, right? And the cost of drugs.
Yeah. It has to do essentially, look, in this day and age, running a healthcare system is very difficult. Technology changes. It ain't easy. I admit that. But what is the goal of a rational healthcare system? It is to say, first of all, to answer the fundamental question, is healthcare a human right? What do you think? Regardless of income, get healthcare.
I believe that based on how much money our country has, I think it's wrong not to provide that to people because we waste it in so many other ways.
Okay, good point. So the issue here is, why is the wealthiest nation on earth, the United States of America, the only major country not to guarantee health care to all people. Okay? That to me is a fundamental issue. So today, despite spending so much money, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. And if Trump gets his way and throws another 15 million people off of Medicaid, raise that number to roughly 100 million. Okay? There are estimates out there that when you have that many people uninsured, no insurance, and underinsured means high deductibles, right? Mm-hmm. So if you got a high deductible, you may be insured. I've talked to people, I suspect you have, they had deductibles $10,000, $15,000 a year, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't have any money, what the hell, how do you go to the doctor?
Yeah.
You can't. So you add all that together, people get sick, they can't go to the doctor. Some 50, 60,000 people die a year in America unnecessarily because they don't get to a doctor on time. That is pretty insane. So in my view, I push very hard to introduce the legislation of what we call Medicare for All, expanding Medicare to cover every man, woman, and child without out-of-pocket expenses. We could do that without spending, to your point, not a nickel more than we're currently spending.
Yeah. How can we get that move forward, though? Why does this just continue to be this thing, you know? Why does it continue to feel like nobody really wants to take care of us, you know?
Now you're getting into another issue.
Yeah.
All right, you want to go there?
I think we can go to a couple of these places.
All right, let's do it. All right, look, in one respect, the healthcare system is working extremely well. Not for ordinary people, not for you, not for me. It is working very well for the insurance companies who make zillions of dollars in profit, the drug companies who charge us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. And that's the function of the current healthcare system.
Right.
Okay. So again, running a healthcare system, whether it's in Canada, Europe, wherever it is, it ain't easy. And they all make mistakes. And they all have problems. But if your goal is, if you and I sit down and say, okay, how do we provide a healthcare to all people? And how do we do it in a cost-effective way? All right. Will we come up with a perfect system? No. But that's our goal.
Right.
But if we sit here and say, okay, how can we charge the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs and make $38 billion next year?
Yeah.
How can we deny people the insurance that they paid for, right? Mm-hmm. The benefits that they pay for? That's a whole other scam. And that's the scam we're working on.
Yeah.
It is an effort to make huge profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies. And that's why we've got to end this broken system. And again, I will tell you, I've been all over this country. Nobody, or very few people, think this healthcare system is working. We got to expand Medicare over a 4-year period to cover every man, woman, and child.
But is there a real way to get there?
Yeah,
do you think?
Look, the goal is, and then that takes us to another area. You ask the question, why? Why are we, perhaps the only country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people? Why have the Canadian, you are in Canada right now, I live 50 miles away from the border there. You get seriously ill, you're in the hospital for a month. You know what the bill is when you come out? $0.
Yeah.
Okay. And they spend half as much per person on health care.
They got good posture, too. You been over there?
Yeah, sure. So the answer has a lot to do with who controls the United States and a corrupt campaign finance system, all right? So if I'm the insurance companies and if I'm the drug companies and you're running around and you're campaigning and say, I'm going to cut, as I do, we're going to cut prescription drug costs in half. We're going to guarantee health care to all people. What are you going to do? You're going to spend a whole lot of money on candidates to defeat me, right? Mm-hmm. So you got a corrupt campaign finance system in which billionaires, in both political parties, by the way, I think Republicans now more than Democrats, but both parties, spend huge amounts of money. Elon Musk, the richest guy on earth, spent some $270 million to elect Donald Trump president. So, Musk has his own agenda. He wants Trump president. Others, billionaires, have their agenda. That's called a corrupt system, all right? What democracy, in my view, and you can argue with me if you want, is you and I, you're running for office, you want to run against me? Good. What are your ideas? Take them to the people. People like your ideas better than me, you're going to win, all right? It's not me going out raising money, billions or millions of dollars to defeat you, to lie about you, to put ugly 30-second ads on the air, right?
Right.
Okay. That's what democracy is, a real debate on the issues.
Yeah.
All right, disagree with me. So what?
Yeah.
Democracy, right? Yeah. Okay. But increasingly, what politics in America is about are super PACs, where if you're a billionaire, you can put, that's what Musk does, hundreds of millions of dollars. And again, it's not just Musk. Democratic billionaires do the same.
Yeah, there's the Koch brothers over there's the Adelsons, there's all these different huge, just big pockets that are influencing things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A multi-billion. So when these guys control the political process, you're not going to have a government that works for ordinary people. And it's not just healthcare. It's many, many other issues. So to my mind, by the way, when we talk about bringing about the necessary changes this country needs, a campaign finance reform and doing away with Citizens United, that terrible Supreme Court decision, top of the list.
Citizens United, bring that decision up.
Citizens United was the Supreme Court decision that said, you're a billionaire. Okay, you got it?
Mm-hmm.
You have the freedom of speech about Bernie Sanders. You want to put ads on you can spend zillions of dollars, freedom of speech. And that's what Citizens United said. And obviously that undermines democracy because it allows billionaires the right to buy elections.
And can we bring this back to a vote? Like, will Mike Johnson bring this back to a vote?
No, he likes Citizens United because it works very well for those guys. And I got to tell you, some Democrats like it too. But I think the American people, you go out and you talk to, again, people all across the political spectrum, they understand you're not a democracy when billionaires buy elections.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It doesn't even feel like either one of these parties work anybody anymore. Like, if anything, in the past few years, it's really started to feel like, oh, all these guys are working for somebody else, and we're just this other group of people down. Because you have like politicians online that are like yelling at voters for support about stuff. It's like, we voted for you. Like, yell upwards, like it just, I don't know. It just, it feels like a total dead end now. It just feels like, most people just want to be elected now so they can, make a profit somehow themselves. It almost feels like a business venture if you want to be
I wouldn't name it in that way. I would,
it feels like that as a regular person, that's how it seems a lot.
Okay. I would say it's kind of cool to be a congressman or the senator.
That's super cool.
Get your name in where you get on nice shows like this one and all that stuff. And you have a certain amount of power.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real. And you associate with the rich and the famous, and that's cool, I guess. But, that speaks to where we are as a nation today. And here's, I think, maybe the major point that I want to make. You're living in the richest country in the history of the world. Theoretically, at least, that should mean that all of our people have a decent standard of living, right? We should not have people a few blocks from here sleeping out on the street. We should not have people unable to afford health care, kids unable to afford to go to college, people literally unable to feed their families. And yet, in America today, and I know this is really an astounding fact, 60% of our people, Theo, are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I grew up in a family, I don't know your background, but I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, yeah, I knew exactly how much money we had. But no, I knew what we had left at the end of each week, and it was in mom's wallet, Yeah.
All right. And so the simple question that we have to ask ourselves is, how do we feel? And, again, you can disagree with me. You're living in a society today where we have more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had in the history of this country. All right. Mm-hmm. You got the top 1% doing phenomenally well, owning more wealth than the bottom 93%. You got one man, Mr. Musk, one man owning more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. What do you think?
Well, I think it's tough. I think there's two ways to look at it. Well, I think it, in a bigger scope for me, you have these billionaires, you have these guys that have all of this wealth. It does feel unfair. They used to say, well, just because one person has more money doesn't mean that other people have less money. But just visually, it doesn't even start to seem like that's the truth, right? Optically, for me, it doesn't seem like that's the truth. Do I think there should be a cap on how much money people could have? I do think that there should be. To me, in my heart, it doesn't feel like people need so much money and so much control.
I think most people think, and I believe, look, you go out, you're doing it. I mean, you start a business, you're making money, right? Mm-hmm. Congratulations. We appreciate that. You make money. Great. Do you really need hundreds of billions of dollars?
No. All
right. At a point, these guys, whether it's Zuckerberg or whether it's Bezos, they own their islands and their jet planes and their spaceship, all this crap.
Bunkers.
Right, exactly. All right, anyhow. So I don't begrudge people. Come up with a great idea, work hard, make money. God bless you, But you don't need billions and billions of dollars when people are struggling to put food on the table or afford health care. So that's one of the issues that concerns me right now. When I talk about fighting oligarchy. You know, I was on a tour.
I know you had a tour with AOC. You guys just, how many cities are you guys?
We have been now, I was in New Jersey last night. It's the 24th state that I've been in. I think we've done 5 events. Well over 300,000 people have come out. And, you know, I got to tell you, I've been to conservative areas. People of this country are not happy about a situation in which so few people, I mean, really a handful of people have such enormous political and economic power.
Yeah.
Okay? That's not what America's supposed to be about. You got rich and you got poor, fine, but not so few having so much power over the economy and power of our political systems.
Well, here's what I would think. So, but I wonder if, I don't know if, like we always say, let's tax these people, right? That's a term a lot of people use. We need to tax them more. And maybe so, right? But sometimes with billionaires, I at least look at billionaires as like people that are more often than not, creating jobs, creating environments where other people have the ability to make money. Like you have like a Larry Ellison. You have a lot of people that are Amazon workers, people that work at Oracle, people that work in data. You have Elon Musk. You have a lot of people that work for Tesla, or, you know, that might work for his Uber type company if he gets it going. But at least those people are creating jobs, a lot of them. Now, do they still deserve to have that much wealth or hold that much wealth? I don't think so. But then you also have, there's this argument like, well, let's get them to pay taxes. But then you have things that happen like in Minnesota, like with this, the Somalian fraud, right? Like you have this young man who's been going around, Nick Shirley, who's like kind of going door to door, like trick or treating about kind of, right? And figuring it out. That almost is like, it's like, why get people to pay taxes? Who even cares about paying tax anymore if we're just going to let them slip out of the bar?
The answer is fraud is disgusting, and especially to steal money from hungry kids. If you have a program to feed hungry kids, you steal that money, that is probably as bad as it gets. And I think way back in the early 20s under Biden, they started an investigation. Those people should be severely punished. I don't care if you're Somali, if you're green, you're blue, whatever you are.
And I'm using the term Somali fraud because that's kind of the term people are using.
But anyhow, that should be punished. That's disgusting behavior. But, you know, understand, and I'm sure you do, it's fraud is not just in a child nutrition program in Minnesota. I, deal with this a little bit. We are spending $1 trillion a year on the military, okay? There is not one major defense contractor that has not been charged with providing fraud to the United States government. Their CEOs make huge amounts of compensation. They cannot even undergo an independent audit. They're the only government agencies. So they don't even know what they own.
Wow.
I mean, it is so massive. But nobody, Republican, Democrat, Independent, nobody doubts that there's massive fraud. There's fraud all over the place, unfortunately, in this country, and we got to do our best to eliminate that. But at the end of the day, I mean, we got to revitalize, in my view, we got to revitalize our democracy. We got to hold elected officials accountable. We got to run cost-effective, efficient government.
But having been in government a long time, do you think that those things are actually possible, or at a certain point are you like do you lose hope? Because as a regular person, it feels like our political system works against us, and it works for big business interests, and that's not even up for debate anymore. It feels like you're lucky to find a couple people who seem semi-human, work in politics, have some semblance of a connection. At least they will talk about things that they feel like they really want to do, or will show by some of their actions. But otherwise, it feels pretty hopeless. Does it feel like that to you more and more?
Yes and no. Again, I'll give you some examples. And, this is my own political point of view. You agree with me, you don't. It's okay. Right here in New York City, we're sitting in New York right now. A year ago, there was a name, Zohran Mamdani, who nobody had ever heard of. He's an assemblyman in New York. Nobody heard of him. He decided he wanted to run for mayor. He was at 1% in the polls. He was taking on the Democratic establishment. He said, who the hell do you think you are? Taking on the Republican establishment. Taking on the oligarchs in the city. People, front page New York Times, we're going to spend tens of millions of dollars to defeat this guy.
Yeah.
You know what he did? Not only, he's a brilliant guy himself and a very good politician, but he had 90,000 plus people in this city knocking on doors for him. So you ask me, am I optimistic? Can we bring about change? I would say New York City is a pretty good example of what happens when people come in. He said, you know what? I'm going to make this city work for working people, not just the billionaire class.
Amen.
And he's just been, in office for 3 or 4 weeks. I think he's doing great. But you ask me about my optimism. When I see 90,000 people going out on the streets volunteering for this guy, and he's implementing. He was out, we talked about being on the nurses' picket line today. He was there with me, standing with the nurses. So, yeah, and I've seen this, other great members. The media doesn't do a great job, but you got dozens of young men and women in the House of Representatives, strong working class candidates, members of Congress. So, yeah, I am, in that sense, optimistic. On the other hand...
Yeah, my brother and I went. You have a brother? I have
an older brother, yeah.
Yeah. You go to a concert together?
Nope, I don't think we do. He lives in Oxford, England.
Yeah, it's fancy over there.
It is. Well, yeah, but this... Yeah, have you ever been to England? This old university called Oxford, which is one of the great universities in the world.
Yeah.
I stayed in a house, God, like it was 1,400 or 1,300, who the hell knows? I mean, really... Yeah. It goes way back.
Oh, yeah. The plumb. Yeah. You got to bring your own plumbing, I'm sure.
Well, they've advanced a little bit.
Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be with you, Theo.
I really appreciate it. Whenever you started in politics, I'm sure that there was like a real idea of like a person can really affect change, right? Do you think that that's still possible today with like a lot of the lobbies and stuff that they have that goes on?
Well, I think, one of the points I think everybody knows is you have a government dominated by big money interests, right? That's no great secret. So you have these billionaires now in their super PACs. If you're a billionaire, you can contribute hundreds of millions of dollars to elect people, to feed people. If you're a large corporation or you represent the pharmaceutical industry, do you know how many lobbyists there are in Washington, D.C. representing the big drug companies? Take a wild and crazy guess.
2,000.
You got it. That's a pretty good guess. About 18. So there are 100 members of the Senate and 435 members of the House. Got it? 535. And you got 1,800 lobbyists. Well-paid, former leaders of the Democratic Party, leaders of the Republican Party. They're there to say, hey, Congress, do everything you can to make sure we make as much money as possible. And who gives a damn whether people can afford the prescription drugs they need? So that's power.
So you have a whole other drug government almost going on.
Absolutely.
That's even bigger than government. Numbers wise.
Well, not big. But we could define what we mean by bigger. If you look at Wall Street, the power of Wall Street, the drug companies, the insurance companies, the fossil fuel industry, you have enormous wealth, enormous power. And if your question is it government that tells them what to do or they tell what the government to do? More the latter. They tell the government what to do. Very powerful.
Does it feel like that's changed over your time, like in politics, or has it always been that way?
I think to some degree, money talks, right?
Yeah.
No great secret. That's always been the case. It's worse now, and I'll tell you why. As a result of this Citizens United Supreme Court decision, you know that? Mm-hmm. Billionaires really brought action. I said, it's undemocratic. You're taking away my freedom of speech, right? I got a First Amendment right. We're on TV now. You could say whatever you want to say, and I'm a billionaire. And I want to spend unlimited sums of money to defeat this candidate or support this candidate. And you have laws on the books now which restrict my freedom to buy the election. You understand what I'm saying?
Percent.
Okay. Supreme Court said, well, guys, you're right. You're billionaires. You should be able to spend as much money as you want to buy elections. And that's what you have. So right now, this is literally the truth. You have super PACs where billionaires can put unlimited amounts of money, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to defeat people they don't like or to support people they do like. That's power. And that is a corruption of what democracy is supposed to be. Look, you and I can disagree on an issue, all right? 10 people. We argue it out. We vote. I get the majority. You get the majority. Somebody wins. Somebody loses. I don't think billionaires should be able to buy elections.
And I think most people think that. Most people, why are corporations or companies allowed to like give money to candidates and influence elections, right? Almost every person I know says that should be right. No. Whose responsibility is it to make sure it doesn't happen? Is it ours or is it the politicians?
Well, what it is, there were laws put in place, not as strong as I would like, which did limit the power of big money.
Yeah.
Okay. And what that Supreme Court decision said is what Congress did was unconstitutional, denied big money their freedom of speech. If you're a billionaire, You have freedom of speech. That means you can run ads all over the day and to, beat Bernie Sanders, beat anybody. And that's what happened. So what we have got to do now is once again pass legislation that will do that.
There are politicians that aren't viable, kind of, lobbyists.
Of course there are. There are. Yeah. And there's some very good people. But many people, look, just throw out an example. You're running for election, okay? Your opponent is spending millions of dollars. These TV ads are up there, all right? Do you think you're going to stand up to powerful special interests who say, Theo, listen, I like you, but you're going to take that position on that issue. I got to be running millions of dollars of ads against you. What do you think you're going to do if you want to get elected? You could say, well, go to hell. I'm going to do it anyhow. And many would do. Or you run the risk of, seeing that kind of money come against you.
Or you then have to find a lobbyist that has an interest of yours and you have to try and fight.
Which is a pretty pathetic thing. To some degree, what you have right now, it's a funny kind of thing. It's, let's say you were running against me. It's not you against me. It's your moneyed interest versus my moneyed interest. That's what super PACs are.
Yeah.
Now, corporations cannot directly contribute to your campaign, but big money interests, billionaires, can contribute to a super PAC. So you have all these, what I would say to you, people watch the show here. Look at the ads that are on television. They'll be underneath it. You'll see paid for by supporters of the American way of life or whatever the hell it is. Understand that in most cases, these are billionaires putting money into a candidate.
Super PAC is kind of the loophole they do it. So it's not direct.
Exactly. There are limits. All right. You wanted to contribute to my campaign. They're pretty stringent limits. You can't contribute. I think it's $5,000. Through a super PAC, you can contribute $100 million.
Wow.
It's a big issue. We don't talk about it enough. And then you can understand that if you're an ordinary person, who's going to listen to your interests, your needs, right? When billionaires are putting in this kind of money.
Hey, if the best I can help you out with is $5,000, you might show up and shake my hand, but when some dog hits the road or whatever, you're going to be working for the big dogs for the cash.
That's the way the system works. And
how do we change that?
well, first of all, this campaign finance reform is a big deal. Just this one issue, and I'm glad you raised it. We got to do away with the Citizens United. We have to have restrictions. Okay. When I ran for president, the average contribution was $27. Okay. Roughly speaking. And we got millions of people to contribute. So I think there has to be a real stringent limit on the amount of money that any individual can put into the political process. And I also believe that we should move to what we call public funding of elections. Candidate, all right? You want to run for governor, you want to run for senator. If you show that you have a certain amount of support, you got a number of thousands of people willing to put $5 into your campaign, you can be able to get public funding, and there's a limit at how much you can spend. These are not radical ideas. They exist in many countries around the world, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. Do you think that our election process is still democratic? Do you think it's still?
Yes and no. I mean, you want to run for office. Can you? Yeah, you can. You got a certain number of signatures. But if you're going to win, and I have 10 times more money than you do, I will beat you 95%. Maybe if you're really an exceptional candidate and I'm a real idiot, you will beat me once in a while. But by and large, the money people will win. So if you're asking me, are we a democracy? In one sense, we are. All right, you can run for office. You can raise your issues. On the other hand, in terms of who has the real power, money people do. And I use the term oligarchy. An oligarchy is a society where small numbers of very wealthy people control the economic and political life of the country. I think we are moving rapidly in that direction.
Yeah, I feel like to me, it feels like a almost privatized communism in a way.
That's a very good point. It's an interesting way of looking at it.
And I don't know exactly sometimes everything of what communism is and what socialism is, but sometimes that's how it feels.
Well, let me give you an example. Can I pick up on your point?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I believe we are the only nation on earth, major nation, wealthy nation, that does not guarantee health care to all people. Okay? Get in your car, go 50 miles where you are sitting right now in Burlington, Vermont. You have a terrible automobile accident. You're in the hospital for a month in Canada. You know what the bill is when you come out? Zero.
Nothing.
Okay. Do you know how much the Canadians spend per person on healthcare compared to us? 1/2 as much. They say half as much. You don't take out your wallet. If you get sick, you're the doctor that you want. Okay. I believe in that type of system. They guarantee healthcare to all of their people. Mm-hmm. It's publicly funded the way we fund police departments, fire departments, and libraries. Okay. You got to pay taxes for it. But at the end of the day, it is less expensive for your healthcare. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're a proponent for healthcare for all, right?
Absolutely.
And you always have been. And but how the system seems so rigged because you have like one of the number one causes of bankruptcy in America is medical debt, right?
Yes.
Unbelievable. Like people can't, people, they go in, they don't even know the cost. They sign an agreement that they're going to be billed later, right? It's like, and then they get the bill and it's astronomical and they spend the rest of their life literally a slave to the healthcare system or to the medical billing system or the dealing with their insurance. And not to mention they're sick. So the adage of that, it just feels like, like something so much better could be done.
It's so pathetic and so sick and so cruel. I mean, we did a hearing on this, and roughly speaking, and I know the viewers will think this is like hard to believe. Half of the people who are dealing with cancer, now cancer is a terrible disease, right? Maybe
bad.
You make it, you don't, you got radiation, chemotherapy, bad stuff, right? Half the people who get cancer treatment either end up in bankruptcy or utilizing all of the financial resources of the family. They're depleted. They're broke. So Matt, you go into the hospital, doctor says, Theo, sorry, you got cancer, terrible. You're worried to death, right? Your friends, your family are worried. And then on top of that, what are you worried about? Oh my God, what am I going to have to sell my house? Or I have to go bankrupt in order to pay medical bills? That is insane.
Yeah.
And it adds, if you're trying to deal with cancer, then you got to worry about financial stress. Think it's going to make your condition any better?
The worst. You spend half your day, you can't even, in the insurance companies, it's all a rigmarole. It's constant stress. But how is it set up? What is the gimmick between insurers and the hospital? That's the thing I don't know. What's going on?
Let's take a step further.
Okay.
Let me talk about the Canadians. All right.
Okay.
Simple. You pay taxes, and progressive. The more you make, the more you pay. But everyone pays taxes. All right. End result is you walk into the hospital, you sign your name, you got all the treatment you need, and it's good quality health care. You don't have to argue with insurance companies. You get the care that the doctors think you need. End of discussion. And in my view, that's the way it should be. It's not just that the insurance companies make huge profits. They do. Not just they pay their CEOs exorbitant salaries, which they do. Everybody's got to fill out 1,000 different forms, right? Goes crazy. Filling out forms to see what you're entitled to, what you're not entitled to, deductibles. Right?
Yeah, the bureaucracy. It's
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah. All right, so look, you may have health insurance, but I just talked to a person the other day. We had a meeting. You know what their deductible was? $13,000. What does that mean? It means that the first $13,000 of illness they got to pay out of their own pocket. How many people can pay $13,000? So if you get hit by a truck and you earn up $1 million, it will kick in.
Yeah,
presumably. All right, so the whole idea that healthcare in America, unlike every other major country, all right, go to Europe, go to Canada, go to many Latin American countries. It is a bloody right, not a privilege. And that's what I think it should be. So we have a system that works very well for the insurance companies and the drug companies. In some cases, you're going to pay 10 times more for Medicaid in America than they do in other countries. That's a whole other story we're trying to deal with right now. But it's a corrupt system benefiting the people who own it, not the ordinary American. You go out on the street, say to people, do you think healthcare is a human right? All people in America should have it. Yeah, we do. That's what I'm fighting for.
And who are the lobbyists that are against that then?
What do you think? Guys from the insurance companies and the drug companies.
Okay. And then what politicians work with those? Like, why don't we know what politicians are cheating us so that we don't have them in anymore?
You're a smart guy. You tell me, how often have you heard a discussion in this country about how broken the healthcare system is and comparing it to other countries?
A lot.
You've heard a lot about this?
Well, I mean, I think I hear a lot about, I look into it.
You look into it, but how many people even know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare to all people? So when people say, oh, Bernie Sanders is a radical idea, he thinks everybody should have healthcare. Really? That exists in Canada, exists in France, in England, in Denmark, in Sweden, in every bloody country on earth, virtually, rich country. So it's not cool.
Even Mars, I heard they have healthcare.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Now, people would say that the argument against that would be that then there's less personal responsibility to take care of yourself, right? But
really?
But that would be in other countries anyway, right? That would be
if God forbid you or I came down with a serious illness tomorrow, am I going to blame you for coming down with cancer? I mean, is that a personal responsibility?
It's a good point. Yeah, probably not. That might just be kind of
And look,
ghost of an image.
and but to pick up on that point, what should one of the priorities of a good healthcare system be? It should be to try to keep people healthy. So it should encourage people to have good diet, to do exercise, to stay away from, addictive stuff, right? Do we do a particularly good job on that? Not so much. Because where do the insurance companies make their money? Hey, if you're really sick, pretty good.
Yeah.
We keep you healthy, not so much.
Are they one of the largest lobbyists?
Yep.
Wow.
They're huge. I mean, and we started this, you talk about, privatized communism, whatever the expression you used, is I believe that, Medicare is the insurance program for the elderly. Mm-hmm. Medicaid is for income people. I think we should combine all these and guarantee health care to all people. But your point is that in the private sector, we are moving to a monopoly, and it's true. People like United Health, unbelievable site. United Health, to the best of my knowledge, has under contract or hires 10% of the doctors in America. Wow. Got that? One of the doctors.
How would you even start to undo something like that? Like, what's a realistic path to reform, I guess?
Thanks. Great question. And because I wrote the bill, I know the answer. Mm-hmm. Right now, you have Medicare, which is a very popular program. It's life-saving to many elderly people. That was developed in the 1960s by Lyndon Johnson. Okay, very popular program. You got Medicare for the lower-income people, also a popular program. What I would do is, over a 4-year period, take Medicare. First thing you do is expand Medicare, because Medicare does not now cover dental, hearing, or vision. A lot of people can't afford to go to a dentist.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you say, right now, to be eligible for Medicare, you got to be 65 years of age.
Okay.
First year, lower it to 55. So you're 57, congratulations. You don't have to worry about whether you have insurance on your job. You want to hear something else crazy about the private insurance system. You work for a big corporation, okay? Mm-hmm. They give you good health insurance. He works for McDonald's, virtually nothing. All right? That's pretty crazy. Where you work determines the kind of health care you get. Anyhow, so we go 55 down to 55, 55 next year down to 45, 45 to 35, fourth year you cover everybody. Gradual absorption. So you have a Medicare system that covers all people. You no longer have to pay any more deductibles or co-payments, no more premiums. You get your health care because you're an American citizen. Will your taxes go up? They may. Will it be less than what you pay right now in private insurance? Yes, it will be. It's a good deal.
Can we afford that as a country?
Sure.
Yeah.
Now spending over $4 trillion on healthcare. We spend double. Here's another point to be made. We spend twice as much per person on healthcare as any other country, because it's designed to make money for the insurance companies and the trades.
Wait, so explain it to me. So we spend twice as much on healthcare.
We are spending right now.
As any other country?
Yes.
Per person?
Yes.
But the money isn't going towards them getting, so we'd almost save the money just by.
You got it. All right. Here, it's true. Check it out. It is true. Chairman of the Bloody Committee. Yes, it is true.
I can't believe it.
If I buy a car tomorrow for $80,000, you buy a car for $40,000. What is the presumption? Should my car be a better car than yours? I'm spending twice as much. All right. But I got a much better car than you have. All right. We are spending per person, over $13,000. All right. Spending $13,000 on you, $13,000 on me, $13,000 on a 5-year-old, $13,000 on a 90-year-old. All right. $13,000 per person, over $4 trillion nationally. Canadians are spending about half of that per person.
And they're taking care of everybody.
Yeah. And the British are spending less than that. Other countries a little bit.
But does that affect us with the population number that we?
It doesn't matter. I mean, per
got it. Okay.
I'm not talking in gross, but
right.
Per person.
How do you stop hospitals from overcharging?
It's a corrupt system.
If they know that the government's going to pick up the tab.
Very good question. The answer is what they do. It's not like we're inventing something. Other countries do it. What they say to hospitals is, look, you're not going to be charging Theo when he's in the hospital. You're not going to be charging him a nickel. But we know, roughly speaking, in a year what you are going to be. You need a certain number of doctors and radiologists and nurses and all that stuff. Here is your budget. It's like a police department. Here's your budget in a year. You need more, maybe we'll come up with more. You get what we call a global budget.
Dodgers or something.
But you got a global budget.
You got a budget.
And you take care of needs. It's not per person. You get it. And what you do there We spend as a nation, one of the other insanities of this healthcare system, we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on billing. You know what I mean by that?
Medical billing, yeah.
All right. So I'm the insurance companies. First of all, you got to fill out forms. I hire people who are not doctors or nurses, right? They're just bill.
Yeah.
All right. You got billers. You go to a hospital, go down to the basement, got 100, well, depending on the size of the hospital, dozens and dozens of people. They don't see a patient. They're just filling out forms.
Yeah, half the Philippines is people just doing medical billing over the phone, you know?
But there are countries where you show your card and that's the end of the discussion. But we waste hundreds of billions of dollars just on billing people. Now, there's another issue I want to discuss. Life expectancy. What do we know about life expectancy?
We're getting pretty long in the tooth.
Nope.
We're not living long.
Nope. Compared to whom?
Compared to probably Vietnam.
I'm sure, maybe. All right, but all right, we are the richest country on earth. Do we live longer lives than other people?
No, we don't.
We do not. In fact, we're pretty far down the list. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I think it could be that we're not taking as good care of ourselves.
Okay.
And it could be that, that we don't have as good a health care.
Right. All right. I think that's two out of three. All right. Now, here, there are two facts. Japan, other countries will live 4 or 5 years, 6 years longer than we do. That's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they'll live, I forgot what it is.
% or something.
Yeah, it's a lot. But here's another fact that is really unbelievable. It's not just that we live shorter lives despite spending so much on healthcare. The gap between the 1% and the working class is 10 years. If you're rich, you'll live as long as people in other countries. You have a long life, in the 80s or whatever it is. If you're working class, you're going to live 10 years younger. How does that happen, do you think?
Oh, because just stress, burnout.
All right. I'm going to sign you up there. You got it.
Look, I think I like a lot of the things that you think about.
All right, let's deal with the issue of stress.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. It is twofold, it seems to me. Number one is if you're rich, you go to any doctor you want, when you want it, pay for all the drugs you need.
Yeah.
All right, that's a real edge. But above and beyond that, working class people live under enormous stress, right? And that takes a toll on you. Takes a toll on you physically and mentally. And that is, we have parts of this country where life expectancy is actually in decline. Got it? People are living short.
Because of the stress.
And with that stress and the hopelessness, they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they turn to suicide stuff.
Oh, I think those are things that, they don't even take those factors into consideration when they're making all of these, you call to get your medical bill. It's a nightmare. It's like, you almost want to, this is crazy. There's been times when I've been like, I would rather take my own life than sit here and make another fucking call. And I'm not even sick. Somebody trying to get to the bottom of it.
And why does that happen?
It's loopholes. They don't want you to get paid.
Got it. Not that hard. Look. You pay me money through insurance, right? So you're sick. I'm supposed to, pay your bills, right? If I drive you crazy, you're going to say, screw it. Hell with it. I'll pay the goddamn thing myself. It's not.
Yeah.
Good. I'm the insurance. Right on, man. That's exactly what I want.